Hello everybody and welcome back to Hypixel Skyblock, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the best mage setups in Hypixel Skyblock. This is the complete updated mage guide for 2021. So let's start off with the super early game. In the super early game, you are mainly only going to play the entrance floor, just try to get your catacombs level up a little bit, and unlock some early game items. So use whatever armor and weapon you have for the beginning, and try to reforge it to wise. And once you hit Catacombs level 5, which is an important step of playing in the early game, you're going to want to get the Dreadlord Sword. The Dreadlord Sword is a really cheap sword, and you can buy it on the auction house, or you can buy it just by getting it in dungeons. So let's go over to the auction house. So as you can see, the Dreadlord Sword only costs about 5,300 coins, which is honestly really not that bad. And you can totally get it just by playing dungeons as well. Just try to get to Catacombs level 5. So let's move on to the early game. In the early game, you're going to want Wise Dragon Armor, not Dungeon Eyes, because you won't have the Catacombs requirement yet. And you're also going to want to get a Bonzo Staff. We're not going to include any budget for your pet for this one, so just use whatever pet you have, but try to make it work for mana, so if you got something like a sheep pet or something like that. Just get a pet that increases whichever stat you need more work on. And with this, you're going to be able to play floors 1 to 2. So let's talk about the early mid-game, which is floors 2 to 3. For this one, you're going to stick with your trusty Bonzo Staff and go with Adaptive Armor. Try to also get 3/4 Zombie Soldier and Dark Goggles or a Bonzo Mask for survivability. That will help you survive longer and deal more damage depending on which one you pick. You'll also want to get an Epic Sheep if you can. Sheep bets will just boost your damage as a mage in general because you'll have extra mana, and it just boosts your ability damage as well. So get a Epic Sheep, and also get the Voodoo Doll. The Voodoo Doll is an incredible weapon for early and mid-game mage. So this early mid-game stage, a Voodoo Doll is going to be an essential weapon for you. You can get it by unlocking it via the Slayer requirements that you will need for it. So let's go down and look at those. So in terms of Slayer requirements, you're going to have to grind the Revenant Slayers, and you'll see eventually, let's look at the boss drops, and there we go, the Voodoo Doll. You will unlock this at, when did it say? You will unlock this at Zombie Slayer level 5, and what you're going to want to do is craft the Voodoo Doll. It's honestly not that expensive in terms of materials, and it is really surprisingly good. It's got a really strange crafting recipe as well. Why is there a pumpkin minion in there? But that's besides the point. It's pretty good for early to mid-game mage, so I highly recommend it for any players in that stage. So let's now talk about the later mid-game, where you'll be able to play floors 4 to 5. This, you'll need a Spirit Scepter Zombie Soldier from floors 2 to 3, but you're going to want to switch out to Shadow Goggles and Perfect Tier 12 and Spirit Boots as you start to afford it. And when you can finally afford it, upgrade it to Necro Lord Armor. Necromancer Lord chestplates especially will give you a lot of extra stats, and the rest of the pieces aren't honestly that expensive and will give you a huge stat boost, especially in surviving things like floor 5. But your main goal should be getting a floor 4 completion and getting a Spirit Scepter, which will significantly boost your damage from the Bonzo Staff before. And you're going to want to get a legendary sheep with your pet budget, and again, keep that Voodoo Doll from the early mid-game, because that will still come in really handy. Now we get to the expensive stage, the late game and end game. So late game, you'll be able to do floor 6 and sort of 7. 7-ish, you won't be able to get into that many good 7 parties, but you can technically play it. So floor 6, you're going to want a Spirit Scepter that's maxed, a Midas Staff, if you can afford it. This will be helpful as a damage weapon especially, but it's not strictly necessary. The Midas is really what you're going to want if you're trying to play floor 7. Like I said, people don't love Midas Spoon players on floor 7, but it does technically work. You're also going to want Necromancer Lord Armor, maxed with Wither Goggles, preferably. Optional add-on of the Bonzo Mask, if you absolutely have to, especially maybe if you're entering that room with all the Wither Skeletons on Phase 2 of the Floor 7 dungeon, but that's pretty much all I would recommend it for. It's honestly not that useful. You shouldn't be relying on the Bonzo Mask otherwise. You're also going to want the Stonk and the Bonzo Staff just as different tools for secrets, and a Spirit Boots to clear things like Trap. And you'll also want the legendary sheep or black cat pet for extra speed. In floor 7, we get on to your Hyperion. So you're finally going to want to get a maxed Hyperion. That will let you deal a lot of damage very quickly and teleport around as well. So you can also get an Astria if you're struggling with EHP, honestly around the same price, and just easily interchangeable. You'll deal more damage than using something like a blue whale pet. Make sure you can use the sheep with your sword. If you can survive with the sheep and the Hyperion, go for it. If you need the extra elf, the Astrea is there for you. Just keep the sheep on rather than resorting to a blue whale pet. And a black cat pet can get you some extra speed while in the dungeon. And you're also going to want to have 3/4 max storm, like I've got on right now, and wither goggles, preferably. Shadow goggles, if you must. And you can also throw in the rabbit hat for floor 7. I'm not sure if this one still works, it may have been patched, but it can still help you with up crushes. And floor 7 tools, rogue sword, bonzo staff, stonk, all the things that I mentioned before, different tools that can help you clear different rooms. You should probably learn some secrets and stuff that can help you with secrets and different puzzles. All of those tools can be helpful. And you're also going to want to try to have a legendary sheep pet or black cat pet, as mentioned before, as they will increase your damage in dungeons. So, if you did enjoy this little guide on the mage class of Hypixel Skyblock Dungeons, please do like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you guys later in the next video. Goodbye.